Hi everyone, my name is Darin. I currently enlisted active duty as a 68P, which is a radiology specialist. I leave for basic training in 10 days. I'm feeling really anxious at this point. I'm going to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how I got interested in the Army and kind of just like what to expect during MEPS and just talking to your recruiter and what to know before basic training. Um, Everyone's experience is going to be a little bit different, but I'm just going to tell you how my experience was. So, um, I'm currently going to school 2 hours away from my hometown. Um, one weekend I decided to drive home. I think it was a Friday because they're not open on the weekend. So I decided to drive home, and my dad and I went and talked to a recruiter. I brought my dad because my whole dad's side was in the military, and I wanted to bring someone that like actually knew what to expect, and I didn't want to get talked into something because you always hear those scary stories, and everyone makes it worse than it is. But I didn't want to get talked into something that I didn't want to do. So um, my dad, he was in the Air Force, so I brought him. Just so you know, my grandfather, he retired Air Force, and two of my great grandfathers were in the Army, and my cousin is currently in the Navy. So shout out to Kayla. So the military isn't as bad as people think it is. Everyone makes it a lot worse than it is. Okay, so yeah, my dad and I, we went to a recruiting office, and I don't want to say that I was standoffish the first day, but I didn't want to act too interested because I didn't want to get talked into something that I didn't want to do. So my recruiter, he was really nice and helpful. I went there with some questions, which I suggest to do. My recruiter made me write down pros and cons of like joining, and also just the difference between active duty and reserves. So we went over that. It took us about, I want to say, 30 minutes, and he answered all my questions. And so I left and I went back home, like 2 hours away, like for school home. Went back home and I was thinking about what I wanted to do. And one day I decided, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna do active duty. That sounds like a plan. So I called my recruiter back, and I was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I decided to do active. Like, what do I do next? So what he suggested is that I go and take the practice ASVAB because I hadn't taken the ASVAB in high school. So he's like, do you want to come back down here to take it, or do you want to take it over by where you're going to school? And I was like, I'll just take it at the station up here just so it's easier. So I went to the station up by school, and I took the practice ASVAB. I want to say it took about 45 minutes. And so after that, the recruiters there were asking me, like, do you want to work with our station? It's probably going to be easier so I don't have to drive back and forth and all this other stuff. But once you start working with a recruiter, I suggest just sticking with them because you don't want to be, one person's going to start your paperwork and knows about you, and then you're going to be just jumping back and forth. It just confuses everyone. So just stick with one person. That's what I suggest. Go to a recruiter that's in a reasonable distance, and one that, like, a station that you're comfortable with. So I decided to stick with the one home. I called my recruiter back, and I was like, look, I got this score on my practice ASVAB, like, what's the next step? And he said, we need to schedule you to get into MEPS to take the actual ASVAB. So I think the following weekend, he scheduled me to take the ASVAB. And when I say weekend, I mean Friday because they're not open on the weekend. But so I think he scheduled me the following weekend to go to MEPS to take my actual ASVAB. And I think I showed up at the recruiting station around 11. And I want to say that I was finished with the test around 4 o'clock. So I mean, it takes a while. And so I took that, and you typically score like 10 to 20 points higher than you actually do on the practice exam. So I think I scored 20 points higher. So based off of your practice score, your recruiter will let you know, like, if you need to study or how much you should study. But yeah, so I took the actual ASVAB, and after that, it was pretty much picking my MOS from there, because your MOS is based off of your scores. So my recruiter was just basically like telling me things that I qualified for, and um, there were a couple job offerings. I wasn't The thing that I suggest is don't just sign up for a job because you're interested in joining, like you're ready to just, join, because that's what I wanted to do so bad. But because my grandpa was retired Air Force and he was a recruiter, he that was his biggest tip for me was, Darren, don't sign any papers, and don't just pick a job because you want to know your leave date and all this stuff. So first I was like, yeah, but no, it's true. Don't just pick a job because you're going to be stuck doing it. After you sign your contract, you're going to be stuck doing that job. And if you don't like it very much, I mean, I heard that you can like switch and stuff, but I don't really know how that works at this point. But I just don't pick something you're not completely interested in. So um, I was offered a mechanical job to work on Apache helicopters, which was interesting. That was interesting at first because I really like mechanics, as manly as that sounds. So I was really thinking about taking that job, but I decided not to because the contract was like 6 years, and I mean I like working on like mechanical stuff as far as cars. Like I know more than the average girl, but I didn't know if I wanted to be stuck actually doing that, and going through the training for that, because right now I'm halfway to get my degree in biomed, and that's what I've always been interested in since I was younger, is medical. So we were trying to pick a job. I think I sat in my recruiter's office for like, I want to say I wasted like 3 or 4 hours of his day, and just like, I'm sorry, I don't know what job I want. Like, it was hard. It was a hard decision. It was like a life changing decision. I just could not just settle for just instantly. So, um, I think he told me, you know what, why don't you go home and just like think about, what you want, and like let's just see what opens up, because it just depends on the jobs that are available at that time. There's not going to be, just because you want a specific medical job doesn't mean you're going to get it. It has to be available. So I went home, and I was kind of just like frustrated because I couldn't find the job that I was completely happy with. So he's like, like, just come back tomorrow and we'll see what we can do. And so the next day I went back, and a nice job was available. I told you guys my job is radiology specialist. I was really excited when he told me about that. So I I signed my contract, my 6 year contract, and it's a long time. Usually they're 4 years. Like the average one is 4 years, I want to say, I think. But mine was 6 years. So I signed it because I don't know, it just seemed like a really good job, and I suggest before you actually sign your contract for your job, watch YouTube videos on it. My recruiter was nice enough to show me like YouTube videos on my job. He like read descriptions to me of what I would be doing and just all this other stuff. So just make sure it's really what you want to do. Um, so after I signed that, he was like, okay, well, now that you have your MOS picked out, your leave date is May 13th. You're going to Fort Leonard Wood. That's the most exciting part because you find out when you leave, you find out where you're going, like all this other stuff. So you're just like, yes, I have my job. Like you feel like everything is just like lined up from there. So after that, he scheduled me to get in at MEPS, which is the Military Entry Processing Station. So that's where you get like your physical and everything. So he like scheduled me to do that, and I think it was a Wednesday the following week. I don't know, I don't remember, but um, so I stayed in the hotel Wednesday night. I want to say I reported to my recruiting station at like 11, and then he dropped me off at the hotel at like noon. So I signed in at the hotel. He like walked me there, signed me in, everything, and then I went upstairs to my room, and the guy at the counter, sorry, back up. The guy at the counter was telling me, he's like, well, you're gonna have a briefing at 8 o'clock, so you're free to kind of just like roam around, do what you want, but make sure that you're there for the briefing at 8. So went up to my room, kind of hung out. I called my mom, and she like came and had dinner with me, and we just like relaxed and stuff. And then so 8 o'clock came around, and we got a briefing about what was gonna what was gonna happen in the morning, like what the plan was, what time you need to do, everything. So they told us that we would have a wake-up call at 4 o'clock. So he's like, you need to be down in the breakfast area by 4:30, and you need to come up to the counter and turn in your key. So like they're gonna know if you're not there. If you're like, I just don't want breakfast. Like, no, you're gonna check out, and you need to turn in your key. So make sure that you're there on time. I believe my roommate. So you get a roommate too. You get a random roommate. My roommate was very interesting. She was going in the Navy, but that's another story on its own. Anyway, so we got a wake up call at 4 o'clock, but I think my roommate and I decided to get up at like 3:30 or something, because like we're girls. Like 30 minutes is not enough to like brush your teeth and take a shower and comb your hair and do all the other stuff that girls do. So we got up earlier, and then we met in the dining area for breakfast by 4:30, like we were told. I suggest being early, obviously. So we ate, and then they told us to be in the lobby ready to go at like 5 o'clock. So we were done eating, and then we were waiting in the lobby. I think we waited in the lobby for like, I want to say 40 minutes, to like 5:30. We ate fast, and we just waited in the lobby. And we were waiting for the bus, and finally I think the bus showed up, around 5:30, and then we got taken over to MEPS at 6. And before I left, I had no idea this was going to be the longest day of my entire life. I promise you, like, I dislike MEPS. I do not like it. Okay, let's just put it that way. So got there at 6, and I'm with a whole bunch of people that I don't know, and I'm kind of quiet when I don't really know people. Like, if I know someone, I'm like loud or whatever, but I was just with like a whole bunch of dudes. I think there was like 40 guys, and I was like one of 3 girls. So I was just like, we were all sitting in the lobby, and I was kind of just keeping to myself. It's 6 in the morning, I'm so tired, and so we get a briefing again from the captain, and he's just like telling us, about what's going to take place, what we need to do. I also suggest to the ladies, don't wear a sports bra, because I figured wearing a sports bra would be better, but wear a regular bra, because when they do your spinal exam, they need to like push up your back, and if you have a sports bra, it's just a mess. So just wear a regular bra. So yeah, you go to MEPS, you get your full body physical, you get a breathalyzer, you get your blood drawn, you get your eyesight checked, you get checked for for color blindness, you get your hearing checked. What else? I'm trying to think. Oh, you get taken into a room and like talked about, have you ever tried drugs, and like, have you ever tried this? Do you have any debt? Like, someone questions you. So you do all these things, and it's so tiring. You get drug tested, everything. So that whole process, I'm gonna say that took about 5 hours. So it's 11 o'clock in the morning at this point. I'm really tired. Like, I'm like, yes, we're almost done. Like, I'm gonna get out of here soon. They're all saying, oh, this is really early for everyone to be done with their physicals, So I was super excited. I was excited. My mom, I was supposed to swear in around like 1. So my mom got off work, and she was gonna come watch me swear in, and so she shows up, and I'm waiting on my paperwork. Just make sure, let me just tell you, make sure that your paperwork is filled out correctly. Every little thing needs to match up, because they found the smallest mistake on my paperwork, and I was the last person to swear in that day. I was so frustrated. Like, I even started crying. That's how frustrated I was. And the military saying, hurry up and wait. Like, I felt like I was constantly in a rush that day. Hurry up, go stand in line, go do this, go do that. And I was just waiting the whole day. I think that's why I don't like MEPS, because I'm a really impatient person. So that's something that's probably going to change after basic. Um, I think that's pretty much my experience with the joining and talking to my recruiter. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me.